better not have no plans tonight.
Movie time and it's feeling right.
You're looking for a love that lasts. You'll find it at Romancing the Podcast. Ooh, ooh, baby, you had me at hello. Ooh, I love you.
I know.
Ooh, ooh, baby, you're the wind beneath my wings. Ooh, ah, I'll have what she's having.
Thank you for tuning into Romancing the Podcast. You had us at hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
I'm Mikey Randolph.
And I'm Todd Schlosser. And this week we watched
Joe
versus the Volcano. Now, this was my pick.
Yeah, why did you pick this? Have you seen this before?
If you remember from last week, Mikey, no, I had not seen this before. It was just one of those movies that people had told me about my entire life and I never got around to seeing. And I sort of am fine with not having had seen it.
Now that you've seen it.
This should have been a me pick. This should have been a me pick, I think.
Are you mad that I picked it and you didn't
No.
pick it as a Mikey movie?
I'm just saying you wasted your pick. I think this movie is so weird. And like I loved it as a kid because it's like there's bright colors and it's like goofy, but it's also like really dark and then like it's like surreal. It's like actually really, really kind of crazy.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me because there are parts of this that I really like and parts of it that I vehemently dislike. And it was my first time too. It was one of those movies I'd always heard about and then I had seen the last 10 minutes of the movie before.
Oh yeah, that's it?
Have a completely different pace than the first 90 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
And so I had a very different picture of this movie in my brain, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I had seen like the poster and stuff like that for this movie. I didn't see the trailer, but I thought it was going to be like this fun island romp between two people as they fall in love.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, but it is not at all that. They're on the island for 30 seconds before they get spit off of it to their impending doom.
Yeah. I'm here for a highly stylized romantic comedy. Like, I'm here for that. Scott Pilgrim is one of my favorite movies. Like, I can take some magical realism with my romantic comedy.
Yeah.
I can take very stylized filmmaking with it. But I think my frustration with this movie is for all the cool, inventive things that they do with set design and cinematography and all kinds of stuff, they just don't do anything with the story. This entire movie is monologues and montages. And it gets exhausting.
Well, I think montages are great, and I am here for it.
I'll say this, Mikey. I didn't hate this movie. I really hated the first 20 minutes of it, maybe 25 minutes of it. And then it sort of gets fun and weird and interesting, at least interesting enough to keep me watching. And I sort of enjoyed it after the first 20 minutes. That whole beginning section reminded me of the movie Nothing But Trouble, which is a terrible movie. After they leave his day job, it gets much, much better.
This movie is the epitome of telling, not showing. And I don't know why it's a movie. Like, when you told me that someone made this, when you told me that somebody made this into a stage play, I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
This should be a stage play. It would be a lot more watchable that way. And then when I was researching the director, one of the Oscars he won was for Doubt, which also I really liked, but also probably should have been a stage play.
Doubt was a stage play. Doubt is amazing. We're never going to be able to do it because it's not a horror movie or a romantic comedy, but it's so good and so subtle. I love that movie. And Meryl Streep, right?
Yes, Meryl Streep and Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Well, and Amy Adams. It's amazing.
Yes.
Guys, can we just talk about Doubt for an hour and a half?
No. To set the stage of Joe versus the Volcano, it's Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan in their first film together.
Right.
Written and directed by an Academy Award-winning writer.
Really?
Yes.
He won the Academy Award after this.
Okay.
This was his test run.
Okay, that makes sense.
This was him getting the weird out of his system. Now, he wins for Moonstruck, which is also a weird movie.
I didn't know Moonstruck was after this, but I'm surprised they let him make it after this.
Well, here's my thing. There's a part of me watching this movie that's like, I want to see this 3 drafts from now. I want 2 other writers to come in and do a chop job and like cut all the monologues, just make it more of them living in this world and not just giving speeches to each other all the time. And I am here for this movie.
I mean, it would be really cool if the characters had like dialogue back and forth. Yeah, instead of just
Yes.
monologuing at each other. Yeah, that'd
Because
be cool.
we don't really learn anything about, I mean, we kind of learn about him, but like no one else has any more than a 2-dimensional personality. Also, definitely doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
Well, no, the only female character plays all of the parts, Paige.
I know.
First off, here's what I love about the movie. I really relate to Joe because he just goes from scene to scene. Someone wanders in, has a monologue when really discloses too much about themselves. Joe
Yeah.
looks confused, makes kind of a joke, and then the scene's over. And that's pretty much a sum of my life.
But why do we have a movie of that, Mikey? No one wants to sit through that.
I sit through it every day, Paige.
This is why no one's buying your life rights, Mikey.
But I think my frustration is there's so many cool things about this movie. The art design is cool. The cinematography is cool.
It is.
The story is weird. The characters are weird. And that's what we get is just people wandering from scene to scene with no causality or purpose.
Yeah.
Why? This could be great.
And the things they say are so crazy. It's so great.
This was written by somebody who took Philosophy 101 and decided that they knew better than their parents. Like, that's this whole movie.
Well, and then also decided that that was enough philosophy for them.
yes.
I was texting Paige quotes because everything was making me laugh.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some very, very funny scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it was intentionally funny, but everything was making me giggle because this movie is so silly and weird.
It's kind of silly and weird until the last 10 minutes when it becomes a legitimate, well-paced comedy for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And for those last 10 minutes, I'm like, I am here for fucking all of this. Yes. And then the movie ends. And I'm just like, why couldn't the whole movie be
I know.
this?
Had the movie been the last 10 minutes, I would have been on board. Like, they arrive at the island as scene 4 instead of scene 30, and I would have been
Yes.
on board. I mean, you take more time on the island, obviously, but, like, that's a good movie there.
Counterpoint.
Make a tape.
The last 10 minutes may be super racist.
That's true. That is true. And this is something you and I talked about via text where I was like, I don't know if this is racist. It might be racist. It's made up, so maybe it's not. But I feel like it's based on real people, which it's a little close.
But then they have like a story where like a boat of Irishmen like land there and stay. So I don't know if it was like
It was Romans,
The Romans.
too. Yeah.
Romans. Yeah. It's like, I don't know if like that was supposed to like be the cover of the whitewashing or the weird racist.
I have a plot twist that I think could have fixed this movie.
Huh?
He wakes up at the end and it's all been a dream because he had a brain aneurysm and Meg Ryan is his nurse. Like the whole movie has been like a Jacob's Ladder scenario while he was having a brain aneurysm.
I mean, that would absolutely explain why she plays every female character. But let's just get into it, though. Let's talk about it.
All right, so we start with a title card that says, once upon a time, there was a guy named Joe who had a very lousy job.
Yeah.
We see his car parked literally in a puddle. He steps into the puddle. Everything is gray. Everything is wet and muddy. And I just have in my notes, is this the Great Depression? I did not think this was a period film. Is this a period film?
I don't know. The factory looks like a giant cassette tape in Russia.
yeah.
It looks like the 1984 Apple ad.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
They're walking up this like walkway that's the same style as the logo of the company, and that logo actually shows up a bunch of different places too.
Yeah, that symbol's everywhere.
They walk past signs. One of them says "Home of the Rectal Probe."
Yeah, well, and like petroleum jelly.
Yeah,
and,
50 years of petroleum jelly.
Yeah.
There's revolving doors that are made of spikes, more puddles. I mean, I felt like as we were getting into this part, I was like, this is the visual personification of going to a job that you hate. Regardless of what the job is, it's that element of everything about it and everything around it becomes so oppressive. You can't even stand to be there.
I 100% agree with that, but you don't need to take 5 minutes and 3 seconds to show me that. you could sum all that up in 30 seconds. I found the beginning of this movie so insufferable. It was so annoying.
Well, it got to the point where I was starting to wonder if they were doing it on purpose. So, like, he goes in, he punches the clock. There's a flower growing out of the ground that gets trampled. In my notes, I just keep being like, is this Escape from New York? What is this movie? This looks like the factory from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Honestly, if Snake Plissken came in at the end and saved them, I would have loved it.
Meg Ryan would have definitely left Tom Hanks for Snake Plissken.
I would leave Natalie for Snake Plissken.
Snake Plissken was the luggage.
Oh, Snake Plissken was the friends we made along the way.
Yeah. The volcano is Joe himself.
What?
The volcano is Joe's problem with commitment.
Yeah.
We'll get there, Mikey, because it's a conversation you and I need to have.
Okay.
So he goes into his office and his boss is loudly screaming repetitively into the phone.
Yeah.
I know he can get the job, but can he do the job? That's not what I said. And the boss's voice literally immediately gave me a headache, where it's like,
Yeah.
it's oppressive to be in this scene with them.
Yes.
Let alone working in that office with them.
I definitely felt what Joe was feeling thanks to the
100%.
direction of this movie.
And it's a lot and it goes on for a long time, but I think it's effective.
No.
Yeah. Todd hated it. I liked the
I
opening
hated
sequence.
it so much.
I understand not liking these scenes because it does go on too long.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think it's very effective at setting up his life and how much he hates it and all of that. I'm on board for it. I get it. You could have done
Yeah.
everything that takes place in the first, no joke, 7 minutes and 34 seconds until a main character speaks in this fucking movie. You could have done all of that in 30 seconds.
Well, fun fact, they had to pad the length of the movie. They had a much more big sequence at the end on the island, but they screened it and everybody was like, oh, that's super racist. You got to cut that down.
They're like,
Doubtful.
Nathan Lane would not be an indigenous person on an island, so you're going to have to
I
scale
love-
back on Timon, all right?
I love how you never see his face. He's not using his regular voice. And I was like, that's Nathan Lane.
You know
like, I can
immediately.
still tell. So he walks past. Meg Ryan is also working in the office and she's constantly using her inhaler, which, by the way, if you're using your inhaler that much, see a doctor. That's not good.
Yeah, you have some experience with this,
Oh.
right, Paige?
Yes, I do.
But this is version 1 Meg Ryan, who is black-haired, New York accent. Her makeup looks weird.
I did not recognize her.
I did not recognize her. Yeah.
I did.
I have in my notes, is this Meg Ryan ? Because I was not sure until much later.
It totally was Meg Ryan. It's Dee Dee, is her character name. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like the girl in the office that he works out of, which is like the advertising office, I think.
Yeah.
He's an ad copy librarian for a medical supply factory.
Which I don't think that job ever existed. They just put like 3 different job titles together.
I think this scene should be compared to scenes like Office Space or the opening of Shaun of the Dead. Things that accomplish the same thing in a much different way, in a more relatable way.
Yeah.
And I feel like if there's one thing this movie is guilty of, it's not being relatable. It's being inventive, but not personal or vulnerable in any way.
I will 100% agree with that.
So during the scene, we get a close-up of the artificial testicles prototype trophy.
Yeah.
I don't know why they have a trophy of that, but we linger on it enough for me to write it down.
That's really funny. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he goes into his office, which is like the back of this kind of office section, and he pulls a lamp out of the file cabinet, slaps the buzzing light above, and turns on the tropical lamp. And this is where we find out that he doesn't have enough catalogs because he reminded his boss 3 weeks ago and 2 weeks ago, but not last week. So his boss didn't order them because he didn't trust them to order them. It's the worst job everyone's ever had.
Also, everyone has had that boss before.
Fun fact, all
Yes.
the scenes in the movie are on that lamp.
Yes, I did know that. That's in my fun facts for later.
Mikey, you have unlocked a fun fact.
Before I found that in fun facts, I assumed that when
Yeah.
watching the movie. I was like, oh, it's his future in a lamp.
But not to take the boss's side in this, that lamp is playing a lullaby, and his boss is
Yes.
like, please turn the lamp off. It's distracting, and it is
Right.
distracting.
My favorite is Dee Dee being like, why do you let him talk to you like that? And I was like, what? Like you would stand up to, like, what are you
Yeah,
talking
he's
about?
your boss.
We got to talk about Tom Hanks' long hair, though.
Oh, you mean his mullet?
Oh my God. That's somehow the worst thing about this movie. This movie seems to have no real script, and yet that is the worst thing about this movie.
I do think it's hilarious that Joe Exotic watched this movie and was like, yes, that's my haircut from now on.
I like that business Tom Hanks is the mullet, and then when he like quits his job and runs away, he's like, close cropped hair, please.
Yeah, he goes on a tropical vacation, Mikey, and goes close cropped Wall Street. Yeah.
Well, the limo driver makes him do it. Like that's the limo driver is the one who's responsible for his sense of style.
I
You
love
mean
the
my
limo driver,
favorite
man.
character in this movie? Yeah.
Marshall's amazing.
Great.
We got to get to him, though. I love that dude.
Yeah. So he tells his boss he's leaving for the doctor's appointment, and his boss is like, again, another doctor. You're always sick. What's wrong with you? So he goes to the doctor's office.
Oh, and the movie makes implications that he's sick because he's like depressed about his life.
Right. Or that there's something in the office making him sick.
Right.
He blames the lights, which I don't know if you've ever sat under fluorescent lights like that. It'll give you a headache.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's bad. So we cut to the doctor's office where Dr. Ellison is basically, how long have you felt this way? And he's like, 8 years, basically since I left the fire department. He said that he started basically not feeling good all the time, so he had to quit. And then the doctor says that there's a black fog of tissue running down the center of your brain. It's a brain fog. It's incurable and it'll spread. And you have about 6 months to live. Your brain will simply fail and then your body will fail.
But he's not just a doctor. He's the host of Unsolved Mysteries.
This is true. It is Robert Stack.
The whole time I was thinking, ooh, I wonder if they're going to solve this mystery. I mean, and the mystery does get solved as he's not a real doctor. They're like pulling up, what do they call that? Murder? They're
A prank. Yeah. Well, and I'm like, okay, if he got set up, how did they, like, he made the appointment with the doctor. Like, how does that even work?
I wonder if we just didn't get like a line of dialogue that was like, he got referred to that doctor by somebody.
Yeah.
You know, that whole thing. I mean, that never gets answered, Paige, so that's just me talking out
Yeah.
my ass. I don't know. But like, I do feel Robert Stack's not a real doctor. He's
Right.
very passionate about solving mysteries and getting Tom Hanks to kill himself.
Which I thought for the bulk of this movie that he was going to be fine and that the doctor had basically engineered all of this just to make him see you like your life. Where it was going to be some like just super high on his morality horse doctor. And then it turned out to be a crazy rich man who wants minerals? ?
I thought the exact same thing. I literally wrote in my notes, I wonder if this is like a Trading Places kind of thing.
Yeah.
That has that turn at the end.
Exactly. Yes.
The only turn I wanted to see at the end was Robert Stack coming on the screen right after it fades out of them floating away.
In a trench coat.
And Robert Stack coming on and going, a murder at sea. A couple last seen floating. What happened to their remains? What caused their ship to crash? Like, I wanted that, like, at the end.
And with the theme song playing, the Unsolved Mysteries theme song.
Absolutely. It would have been great.
So I don't think I've seen this movie since I was like 12 or 13. The way I remembered it was the doctor mixed up his x-ray or something. But so I was expecting that scene to happen, and then it never happened, and I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, I could see it the last time you saw this movie
Yeah.
was when you were 12 or 13, why you would love this movie.
I love this movie when I was a kid because I was like, oh, this is what love is? I have no idea.
It's a kid's movie.
It's a kid's movie. It's so weird. This is such a bizarre romantic comedy. It's like defies classification.
It's just weird that, like, in the 80s and 90s, they were making rom-coms for kids.
Yeah. We're like, kids, do you hate your life? If you get a brain tumor, this is what you should believe
Are
in.
you contemplating your mortality? Do you love orange soda? Do you not understand racism? Come to the island.
But yeah, so he leaves the doctor's office and, like, goes back to his office and sort of has a breakdown on some level.
Yeah, and gives a real strange speech that kind of rambles everywhere.
He quits.
Yeah, he quits, and his boss is like, you blew this job. And I'm like, no one could blow this. This job is terrible.
This is probably revealing too much. I do love that he sort of shoves his boss into the corner and, like, doesn't yell at him, but, like, gets really on the line of it.
I like that scene up until he was like, starts talking to Dee Dee, and he's like, you think I don't know Dee Dee's really attractive? You think I can't hear the fabric of her dress move when she's like moving around her chair?
You think I don't notice she's a woman? You think I don't smell her? I'm just like, what is happening here?
What?
Is he a
I
serial
know,
killer? What is going on?
And she's looking like, oh, he notices me. Like, these are
he
compliments
smells
to her.
me. He can smell me. Oh my God.
He can hear the fabric of my dress move when I shifted my
Which
chair.
is such a weird detail. I mean, not as weird as smelling people, but Mikey, I know you're into that. So, like, I didn't want to point that out.
I like smells. Okay, that's fine.
I'm just saying that's yet another way you're a lot like Tom Hanks.
I'll take it.
We do establish in this scene that he was making $300 a week. And I wrote that down to hopefully try and do some math later. But with the weird magical realism of this movie, there's no no fucking way to do any sort of real math with this movie.
This movie is like, I think you touched on it. It's like if like there was a romantic comedy in the world of Roger Rabbit. Like nothing makes sense.
We just never see
Nothing.
any of the cartoon characters, but this is definitely
yeah,
in that
like I
world.
feel like they're the. It's like it really is like a live action cartoon romantic comedy.
yeah,
It's so weird.
$300 a week in 1990 would be $600 a week today.
That's not terrible. I mean, it's not great, but for a low-level admin job, I wouldn't be surprised.
I do love that after he quits and like bails, he leaves. He fully leaves
Yeah.
the office and then comes back in and asks Dee Dee out. And she's just like, yeah, a guy who had a mental breakdown and openly admitted to listening to my dress when I move and smelling me. This is a good date option for me. Let's do this.
Oh, poor Dee Dee. I feel like she is the saddest story of all because she goes back to work in that office the next day and nothing about her life changes.
Oh, I just thought about that.
And she also holds hands with a closed fist.
Yes. Well, and I think that's the representation of like at the very end when Meg Ryan's character on the island opens her closed fist.
Yes, it just seemed very heavy-handed.
Okay, so I have a legitimate
Or is
question
she?
that I need answered, and I'm glad I have two Joe versus the Volcano experts here to ask this question to. Is Dee Dee the lost daughter of the rich guy? Because the other two
Ooh.
Meg Ryan characters are his daughters, and they're half-sisters. In my mind, Dee Dee was the affair child. Does that make sense?
Oh, and she could have tipped him off to make him go to that doctor to trick him into throwing himself in the volcano.
Mikey, all of this makes a lot of sense, you know? I love the fact that Dee Dee is the rich guy's illegitimate daughter, but is in on the ploy, and that's how they get Tom to the doctor.
He owns that company and sentenced her to admin work, and that's how she figured it out.
He sentenced her to admin work? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I sentenced you to 7 years of mid-level management.
Gung gung.
Anyway, so they go out to dinner and he has this weird rambling, like the door to the universe is you. You're really intense. I want to know everything. And it's just like, it's hard to follow. It's so obscure and abstract and it's not regular dialogue that it makes it difficult to connect to them in the scene.
Yeah, but as someone who is prone to manic states, I was like, oh, I know what Tom's going through right now. And it's great.
for sure.
He is riding that high. It's awesome.
I just thought maybe he hadn't been out with a woman in a while.
Oh, I fully believe he had not, Mikey, but sometimes those kind of new experiences with the possibility of some extra fun later can kick you into that manic state. We've all been there, Mikey.
She does say, I wish I was where you are, Joe. Basically, like, I'll have what you're having. Like, and she seems just kind of overwhelmed by the whole thing. Like, I was trying to put myself in her shoes and I'm like, I would have left already.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. When he leaves the table and comes back and then says, when she asks, where'd you go? And he replies with, I bribed them to sing us a song that will make our hearts swell and burst.
that would drive us insane and make our hearts burst, is what he says.
Yeah, there's no reason to stay at that point.
No, I went on a date with a guy one time that was super into positivity seminars and kept talking to me about it. That date ended abruptly. I was like, no offense, we're not going to get along.
That was Paige's first and last date with Keith Raniere.
But this is also where he reaches across the table to hold her hand and
Yeah.
ends up holding her fist.
Yes.
They walk out of the restaurant. And then this scene afterwards, I kind of like where all of the city has like the specific light colors. It's very cool looking.
Yeah.
As they're walking out of the restaurant, you see on the side of that restaurant is a volcano mural.
Yes.
And then that's when they walk and you see the city and it's like all different colors. I really did like some of the cinematography in this. Like, I don't dislike the movie after he leaves his job. I like it from this point on.
They go home. They go home together. They're making out. He tells her that he's going to die. And she's just like, okay, bye. I got to go.
She does not respond the way the movie 50-50 led me to believe women would respond if they found out someone was dying.
Yeah, I love that movie. Is that a romantic movie?
Maybe a bromantic movie.
Okay. In high school, I was dating a girl and my parents like separated to get divorced, and I called her and I was like, "Yeah, I'm having a really tough time. My parents are getting divorced. They like my dad moved out or whatever." And she was like, "Yeah, I just don't see this working out with us."
Oh my God, she broke up with you on the call?
Yes!
Oh my God. Mikey, I think we have hit pay dirt right here in your issues with commitment.
That is wild.
I think we have found the inciting incident.
She went to the rich school on the other side of the highway, and I feel like that was the main issue.
Oh, yeah. It was the other
Sure,
side of the
sure,
tracks
sure.
problem.
Was it because every time she took out her wallet to pay for things, you just yelled, "Hello"? So Meg Ryan leaves, and then she comes back because she forgot her bag. But she does it in such a strange way where she's like, "Hi, me again. Forgot my bag."
Hey, we just made out, and then you told me some really emotionally like connecting stuff, and I got weirded out and bailed, but I forgot my bag, so I'm not back to talk to you about it. I just need my bag, and I'm gonna go.
Bye.
See you in 6 months. Oh, wait. Bye.
Oh, bye.
Wait, I have a similar story, and I have another story about this. I was talking to a girl on a dating app today. We matched up, and I was like, "How's your day going?" And she's like, "Terrible." I was like, "Oh, why is it terrible?" And she's like,
I'm only matching with Uggos on what? Sorry.
she was like, "The apartment above me flooded into and ruined my TV and my furniture."
Oh, that is a terrible day.
shit.
I'm on her side, Mikey.
Well, then I was like, "Oh, that's terrible. Is your apartment gonna pay for it, or your renter's insurance?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't have renter's insurance." And I was like,
Oh, that's a red flag.
"Wait, that's what I said."
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I was like, your apartment didn't require you to have renter's insurance. So we went down this like 20-minute rabbit hole where I was like asking her about like these weird decisions she made. And I was just like, that's odd. The whole thing, I was like, you should have renter's insurance. That's responsible.
And honestly, required in most apartments.
Yeah, well, then she said she's been celibate for 4 years. And I was like, why don't I just delete these apps? But the stories are really good.
Mikey, as someone who enjoys the stories, please don't. But also don't date anyone you meet on the apps.
I was like, so you're celibate and you don't have renter's insurance. That's like 2 red flags.
Yeah, we've got to move on.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Welcome to the podcast where I just say random shit about myself.
So we cut to the next morning, and he's sitting in his apartment playing the ukulele,
Yes.
and the doorbell buzzes, and there's a crazy old man there.
Yes, I love this guy. I do not know his name, but he's been in other things, and he's always a crazy old man, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
He's like Willy Wonka, where
Yeah.
he's just like, "Can I offer you an everlasting gobstopper, and also will you jump into this volcano?" It's crazy.
Okay, so he does. He set up. He comes in. He basically, in his Willy Wonka way, is like, I want the mineral rights for this island. They won't give it to me unless I find someone to sacrifice themselves on a volcano. And I know you're dying. Will you do this for me?
I thought it was really funny that he wants mineral rights to the world's smallest island that people live on
Right?
to be able to, like, I guess, build a mine there and utterly destroy their island.
No, to build a superconductor. But I mean, yes, to build a mine there to destroy their
To
island.
mine the part,
to,
yeah, like
to make a superconductor.
when we actually see that island, I was like, there's no way you could build a mine there without destroying the island.
That island is like 96% volcano.
Yeah.
So he lays it out where he's basically like, you don't have to jump for another 20 days. You'll basically do whatever you want tomorrow. Here are 4 credit cards. Then you'll fly to LA, board a yacht, sail to the South Pacific over like a 10 to 15 day voyage, enjoy the island, and then jump into the volcano.
Yeah.
And so he's just kind of like, yeah, all right, I'll do it.
I mean, he does sort of go through the why me, like why are you coming to me with this?
Yeah.
And
Right.
he explains that, you used to be a firefighter. I read a story about this heroic thing you did where he like saved 2 kids, went down the ladder, and then went back up to go get the 3rd kid. It's like a really heroic act or whatever. So he's like, I know you got the courage to do this. And then
Yeah, especially because that was the middle child.
oh, Mikey, you have a birth order issue. But then he's like, you could be like a national hero like Charles Lindbergh. And I was like, that's probably not the right name to use in that situation. But you're right. But Joe is like, I'm in. Let's do this. I'm dying anyway. I may as well have some fun on the way out, which I get.
Yeah. So we cut to the next day, and New York looks, in my notes, I have it just that New York looks dismal in this movie. And then in fun facts, I found out they filmed it in Los Angeles. And I was like, well, that sounds about right.
There are a lot of people on the East Coast that would say LA is the shitty New York.
It's definitely smoggy. And it's on fire a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So he orders a limo.
He literally calls them and says, hey, I'd like to rent a limo for the day. You only hear his side of the conversation. He's like, yeah, I think that's it. Oh, wait, do you rent anything else?
Yeah. Does that come with a driver?
Yeah. But this is where we get to meet Marshall, who is probably my favorite non-main character in this whole movie.
I like him and the luggage salesman.
Yes, I like them both. Now, he gets into the limo. He's got no plans. And so Marshall, the limo driver, is like, where would you want to go? And he's like, well, probably shopping to buy new clothes. Okay, what kind of clothes? What's your taste? Where do you want to go? And he's just like, I don't know. He's just very passive. And so Marshall gets in the back seat and was like, what's your deal? Basically,
he stops the limo, gets in the back, and he's like, a man is made by their clothes. Why do you not know what kind of clothes you like? And is like,
Right.
what is going on with you?
Yeah, clothes makes a man.
Well,
Yeah.
What kind of clothes do you have? These ones. So no clothes.
I do like that Marshall is super classy.
Yes.
Marshall to me is like the best kind of friend you could ever have because he asks important questions, he listens, and then he helps you solve the issue, whatever it is. So like
Right.
Marshall is like the best single serving friend anyone's ever had.
Oh, and then Marshall immediately notices his hair is terrible and makes a hair appointment for him.
In all fairness, everyone's noticed that at this point, but no one has stepped up to do anything. This is why I love Marshall. He's a man of action.
Yes. And this is after they go to Armani and get matching tuxes, which is pretty great, and Dunhill and get fancy underwear. But so he does take him to get a haircut, thank goodness.
Yes.
Then they go to Hammaker Schlemmer and get a bunch of gadgets.
Did you notice who the haircut lady was?
Yeah, it's Carol Kane. She's in The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. She's
Oh, okay.
amazing. She's also in Hunters, and she plays a very different kind of character in Hunters, and she's amazing.
I love Carol Kane. I just didn't realize it was her. That's she's Have Fun Storming the Castle.
Yeah, she's in Princess Bride, yeah.
Yeah, she's in Princess Bride. I didn't even recognize her. But we don't get anything from her. We get like
No.
a cut to her and a cut away.
I was just asking, Paige.
Yeah. Then we get to the luggage store, and you're right. This guy is hilarious because he opens with "Luggage is the central preoccupation of my life," and then like,
that dude's got a lot of baggage.
yeah, and he's like, "What are you traveling?" And Tom Hanks is like, "I'm traveling heavy, a plane, and then a ship," and he just goes, "A real journey, very exciting. I believe I have just the thing." And then he brings out this crazy fancy steamer trunk that's like watertight and like indestructible. And he basically said, if I had the need and the wherewithal, and Tom Hanks just says, I'll take 4 of them. And he says,
May you live to be 1,000 years old.
and I was
love
like,
that so
this
much.
is great.
and Tom was like, what do you call these? And he goes, oh, these are the Snake Plisskens.
Yes.
And he also buys the mandolin bar, which is like a bar and a mandolin case.
in a violin case. Yeah.
That was amazing. Yeah.
Then he wants to go to the plaza, and Marshall talks him into going to the Pierre instead. And
Yeah.
he invites Marshall to dinner, and Marshall's like, no, I have a family. He's like, don't you have anybody? And he was like, no, but I guess there are times when you're not supposed to have anyone. And then he was like, all right, you're going to be all right. And then we cut to his hotel room.
I sort of like that conversation between them because it's very clear that Joe is lonely, right? But Marshall is doing his job. He's gone above and beyond, but he's going to go back to his family now. This is where his part of the story is done. And then I really did like there are some things I guess you have to do alone. And I do feel like, not to get like way overboard in this movie, there is some things that are going on in Joe's life that he needs to work on. And this is the point where he starts to work on them. And sometimes you have to go that journey alone, man.
I agree.
Mikey is so mad at me right now.
There's a lot of metaphor in this movie, and it just makes it weirder.
Well, here's the thing. You're absolutely right. It does just make it weirder.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like if they wanted that to be the case, if they wanted him to work through his shit, then he should have maybe been alone for a while. And we get him alone here with his hotel room full of fancy stuff. He gets that one dinner alone and goes to sleep alone. And then he's never alone again until Meg Ryan is ostensibly dead on those suitcases later.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the only other time he's alone.
Yeah. He goes to sleep alone. He wakes up, and then we get to meet my favorite iteration of Meg Ryan.
Me too.
And that is redhead Meg Ryan. I was on board for it.
Well, he flies to Los Angeles.
Oh,
and,
yeah, I'm
and
sorry.
she
I'm
picks
sorry.
him up at the airport. Yes.
It is L.A. Meg Ryan, which I think is the better of the Meg Ryans.
I will also say the most Los Angeles a person has ever been on screen. The only thing that would have made her more Los Angeles is if she had argued with him about which freeway to take where. That's the only way. Like she was just missing one line of like, take the 405 to the 101 to the 5 to the 10 to the 210 to the 2. Like that's all she was missing. Everything else, pure Los Angeles.
Oh. Meg Ryan's a good actress.
She introduces herself as Angelica Graynamore, so she's the rich guy's daughter.
Right.
She reveals that he has told Joe not to tell her where he's going, and he hasn't told her. And she says, it's because I'm a flippity gibbet. And you're just like, oh, okay, crazy.
Okay, I had to look up that word because I thought it was made up for the movie, but it's in the dictionary.
Yeah.
It just means flighty.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, when I looked it up, I was like, oh, she is legit a Flibberty Gibbet. She at least owns it.
Oh, this whole movie's so weird. I'm so here for it.
But they like go to like lunch somewhere, right? At a restaurant?
Well, first they try to walk away from the gate and he's like, I have luggage. And she's like, oh, fine.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Okay. and they have to get a taxi to drive behind them with his luggage.
Yeah.
But here's the crazy thing. So I would assume flying in from New York, he's flying into LAX. But then they drive home along the coast?
Yeah.
That's impossible.
No, you always take the PCH home from LAX, Paige.
Well, home from where? The PCH runs north to south. Where are they going?
Don't ruin movies for me, Paige.
Ostensibly, they're going to Beverly Hills, which means that they should just go inland just a little bit, and that's it. And they're there. But instead, they're driving like through the Malibu hills. And I'm just like, then they go to lunch and she reveals that she's got a painting on the wall.
Well, she says she's a poet and a painter. Yeah. And we do get to hear some of her awesome poetry later.
We do later. But first we see her painting, which is basically a painting of the next scene.
Yeah, it's the storyboards. I really do think they just made storyboards and they were like, well, let's just throw the storyboard up there. It's fine.
I think it was supposed to be a joke, but I was like, this is just weird.
Yes, it's so weird.
I don't know if this is funny or not. I think it's just weird.
I'll argue that it's not funny, but because the whole movie is weird, if they throw in a joke like this, you don't know if it's a joke.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
The whole movie's like that.
I know, Mikey.
Especially their conversation at Makeout Point. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
That's why it's bad. That's why I don't like it from
I
a
like
writing perspective. But so they get to like Makeout Point, just like the painting predicted.
Yeah.
And she asks if you'd want to hear one of her poems. And her poem is just, long ago, the delicate tangles of his hair covered the emptiness of my hands. That's the whole poem. That's the whole thing.
Wait. Paige, go ahead and say it again. I think I missed it.
Long ago, the delicate tangles of his hair covered the emptiness of my hands.
That legit is the dialogue from the scene because she does recite it twice.
I just remember sitting there and like, oh man, this is weird. And then she turns to him and she's like, are you saying I should just kill myself?
No, she says, do you ever think about killing yourself?
Well, because it's clear that she's like in a melancholy state.
She lives in Los Angeles, yes.
Well, you can just tell she's sad, right? And so he says, what's the matter? Which, I feel like you would do if you were in that situation.
Right.
And then she just looks at him like, do you ever think about killing yourself? And I was like, this is where you pull the ripcord on this date, like immediately.
No, this is totally something that happens to me. And I'll be like, do you want to talk about it? Or like,
oh,
it must be really
Mikey.
hard. You must be going through some hard times right now. You don't have renter's insurance?
This is not a Mikey story, but like this is one of those stories that if it happened to you, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
I have legit had multiple people tell me they've had suicidal thoughts on dates. Oh, yeah.
Mikey, how bad is your dates? Like, what are you doing to these poor women?
Well, like they'll ask about my job or whatever, and then they'll go into their story. And I'm like, okay.
I'm not at work right now. Please.
Yeah, right.
Listen, I am a therapist, but
yes,
I'm not
exactly.
your therapist.
That's my catchphrase.
Gotta lay that Mikey catchphrase on him.
People don't like it when you use it in person.
Well, the reason she's so melancholy is because she's living off of her father's money in Los Angeles. I was like, hello, have you met Los Angeles?
That doesn't sound bad.
No, it sounds awesome.
It's bad because you start to feel like you have nothing of your own and you have no agency in your life.
Oh, wow. If I could sing all of Justin Timberlake's Cry Me a River, I would right now.
I mean, yes, it is first world problems. I'm just saying that, like, people who are in this position, and LA is a wildly expensive place. It's not easy to land on your feet. I understand why a lot of people end up in this position. They're lucky that they have the ability to be.
Yeah.
But I also understand the frustration and sadness that kind of comes with it, where you're like, I can't make it. I can't do it on my own. I am a failure.
Not to get on a very weird and dark topic, but I think they're not upset because they're living off of someone else's money. They're upset because they failed at their dream and don't know what to do with their life.
And it might not even be failed at their dream. It's like, I don't know what my dream is.
Oh,
which
that
is
could be too.
Almost a harder, which is almost like a harder place. Like, I don't even know what I'm passionate about.
I think the I don't know what my dream is definitely for some people. I think the other thing too is I don't think that people have a realistic understanding of what it takes to achieve your dream.
Oh, yeah.
And so living your dream feels like failure for a long ass time.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult emotion to grapple with because at a certain point you're like, do I move home or do I keep getting parking tickets? But it's also one of those things where, like, it sounds like she doesn't even have that.
Right.
I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
And then they have a talk where she's like, are you saying I should just give up daddy's money and leave?
Yes, and see, that's where it shifts. That's where she becomes the rich asshole of Los Angeles, which is a lot of people, who are like, I'm sad because I'm not famous and I don't have my own money. Well, you could give up the money and do your own thing. What?
Why would I do that? Which honestly is a fair question. If you have that safety net of daddy's money, why would you give that up?
After the last couple of years, I would love if I lived in LA and my family was rich and I just was by the pool. They would be like, can you do something today? And I'd be like, maybe.
Mikey, I have honestly been thinking about talking to you seriously about us just quitting our jobs and just becoming handsome billionaires.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
I mean, let's do it.
I'm here to tell you guys, no.
Is it because we're not handsome enough, Paige?
Yes.
That is hard to hear. I thought the money would be the problem, but
I care about you both, but I also live here.
Paige.
I care about you both, and I have seen homeless people more attractive than you.
I don't know what part of the body the truth is, but man, that part of me hurts right now. Okay, when I lived in San Diego, I did go to LA quite a bit. I had a friend that lived there, and I was up there visiting him, and I did see someone who looked homeless, but also dreamy at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time.
So I do know what you're saying is true.
So he asks her to take him back to the hotel, and she offers to come up with him, and he's like, no.
Which I'm going to say right now, that's the wrong call.
Oh, I would say that's the right call. That's the very right call, because she's just going to end up crying.
Trust me when I tell you, yes, she would have.
Yeah.
Mikey, what are your dates like? I'm so concerned.
I don't tell stories about the good ones.
That's true. He does ask her if she'll meet him for breakfast, and they agree to meet for breakfast. And then he walks to the ocean, which is not walkable from where he is.
I don't think this is on our Earth.
What?
This is like a parallel world where things are goofier.
I'm sorry. You think that this one scene doesn't take place on Earth or the whole movie?
The whole movie.
Oh, yeah. We established that this firmly takes place in the Roger Rabbit universe where there are no cartoons. Yeah.
So he could have
Fine.
walked to the ocean.
Sure. Fine.
But Paige, if he had just opened a door from the hotel and been at the ocean, I would not have at all been surprised.
Yeah. And here's the thing. That makes more sense because then I'm like, oh, this is clearly magical realism.
Yes.
But no, he walks down the street and is suddenly at the beach. And I'm like, where is his hotel?
Yeah.
Because they establish it as Beverly Hills, but then this is clearly Malibu. Malibu kind of makes sense. Marina Del Rey makes sense because then he'd be close to the boat, but that's not where it looked like. It plays fast and loose with where shit is all I'm saying.
Yeah, but when you're in the flyover states, you don't have that kind of geographical LA insider knowledge that you have, Paige, and that's not going to bother you.
Yeah, Paige, I have no idea what you're talking about. LA, it's all the boardwalk and the ocean.
Anyway, the next day at breakfast, she paints a painting for him, but it's like a painting of him looking at the sunset on the beach, which she wasn't there for, which was really weird. And
it's literally just another storyboard, though.
yeah, she reveals that her half-sister, Patricia, is
Right.
the one who's going to be taking him to the island. They have to meet her at the boat. They show up at the boat, and she's calling him Felix because she does what she wants.
Yeah, that was the weirdest flex ever. She calls him
I
Felix
laughed
twice
so much.
and then immediately stopped doing it when he asked her not to. What is this?
She goes, I'll call you whatever you want because you work for my dad and I don't respect people who work for my dad.
And he's like, no, you'll call me Joe or Joseph. And she's like, all right.
He was like, I respect people who show me all their red flags and weirdness right up front in the first 4 sentences of our conversation.
I mean,
Yeah.
let's start a dating app called Red Flags where it just asks you all your bad traits and then you can just go in knowing that, like, okay, this person snores and they have an anxious personality type.
Don't have rental insurance.
Yeah.
I would legit love that app.
Like, I want to know all the red flags going in. I think, honestly, guys, this is $1 million app idea right here.
I mean, it really is. Divorced twice.
We should cut this out of the podcast. And as someone who is divorced, ouch that you think that being divorced is a
I said twice.
Natalie has been divorced twice.
You should swipe left.
Guys, we got all 3. We got the hat trick divorces between me and my girl.
I thought you were talking about Paige, you and I.
No.
And I was like, I don't think I got divorced yet.
I like that Mikey says, yet. He's realistic.
I know.
So he kisses Angelica on the cheek. He gets on the boat. The boat takes off and he throws his hat into the ocean as they raise the sails.
Yeah.
He has a fancy dinner with Patricia. This is where we find out that the Tweedledee is the name of the boat. And we find out a little bit more about the island they're going to, Waponi Woo.
Yeah.
It translates to Little Island with a Big Volcano, and they're obsessed with orange soda. They were colonized by the Romans. They have a mixture of multiple influences, a love of orange soda, and no sense of directions.
Which, how did they get there if they have no sense of direction?
They crash landed.
Oh, I guess it sort of does explain that because it was a storm that blew them around the Cape of Africa. So that makes sense, I guess.
Right.
Never mind. Sorry.
Mhm.
But I think that right there is trying to retcon the type of people that live on the island
Right.
so that they can just be like Nathan Lane types.
Yeah. He also asks, like, why were you snotty earlier? We find out it's because she doesn't like her dad, and this is just a favor.
Yeah, she's got some real daddy issues.
She monologues about it. You're
Yeah.
right. She talks for like 5 minutes straight of basically her whole life story, her dad issues, and everything else.
Yeah.
From the one question of, why were you a little rude to me on the dock?
Yeah.
And that's still over dinner. In a later scene, she does it again.
Yeah, where she asks if he slept with her sister.
Yeah.
And literally, I have a bunch of her monologue written out, but it's literally like 2 paragraphs of just like text with no interruption.
And it's almost as if there's no correlation between some of the sentences. It seems very disjointed on some level.
Yeah. So she does tell him that sleeping on a boat affects your dreams. And then we cut to the next morning where we meet Amanda Plummer because she's a twofer. She was in it last week. She's in it this week.
Oh, yeah. She's the captain, I guess, of the boat.
Dagmar. Yeah.
Yeah. She's the pilot, at least. I'm not sure if she'd be the captain, but whatever.
Yeah.
She definitely tries to fix the engine. I don't know anything else about boats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, Captain, the engine's captain. So they're catching fish off the side of the boat. And then he pulls what looks like a big one. Everyone's trying to help him pull it in. And then it turns out to be a very, very comical hammerhead shark puppet.
It literally is a sock puppet hammerhead with
Yes.
someone like working the mouth.
It's making talking noises.
I
Yep.
thought it was funny, though, because real Meg Ryan is fishing off the other side of the boat, and she's just catching fish left and right, and he's catching nothing. And then eventually he's like, yeah, I got one. And they fight for like a good 30 seconds, and then it's just like a shark, and they all freak out.
It was
Yeah.
funny.
It was
The
funny,
scene was
yeah.
funny. Also, Meg Ryan is like drop dead gorgeous in this movie. This version of her, I think.
I would say slight downgrade from Redhead, but yeah, I agree completely. She's a beautiful woman.
I feel like Redhead was too crazy.
Oof.
Yeah.
It's my wheelhouse.
I feel like this movie is just Goldilocks and the Three Bears, but Tom Hanks is Goldilocks and the porridge is Meg Ryan's.
Okay, hang on 1 second. So DD is too cold. Angelica is too hot, which is true. And Patricia is just right.
Yes.
I will do you one better.
Okay.
Okay.
This was a fun fact for later.
You've unlocked a fun fact, Mikey.
People have compared it to The Wizard of Oz, where Tom Hanks is Dorothy, and they are the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Cowardly Lion.
Oh.
Not in the order that he meets them in The Wizard of Oz, but
Okay.
like
Which one is Patricia then?
Patricia, I think, is the Tin Man
Okay,
because she needs a heart.
I can see that.
Because Angelica has no brain and Dee Dee has no courage.
Oh, so he becomes her heart.
Aw, and then they die.
After they go fishing, they have a really long monologue on the boat.
This was the one under the stars?
This is the one under the stars where they discuss their Philosophy 101 homework. Where it's basically like, do you believe in God? I believe in myself. I'm doing soul searching. What interests you? Courage. And it's literally just this rambling monologue that is the thesis statement of the movie, but we've already like the movie is already showing us this. You don't need to tell us this. And it's exhaustingly long. It's like 10.5 minutes long.
There's a lot of this type of stuff in this movie too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, okay, this should have been summed up in 30 seconds of dialogue, and then we move on to the next thing.
Yeah. It ends with him telling her that he's going to die and her being like, well, I guess I'll see you in the morning. Bye.
Yeah.
Like,
she just checks out of that conversation, which is a common trait amongst Meg Ryans in this movie.
yeah.
When they find out he's going to die, they bone out.
So we cut to the next morning and there's a typhoon warning.
Oh, you mean a green smoke warning?
Yeah, the neon green smoke everywhere.
Yeah.
Super weird.
Also, every scene on the boat is like in a soundstage. It's like the
Yes.
water's fake, the boat's fake.
Everything is fake about it. Yeah.
Wait, are you telling me that the Tweedledee is a miniature, Mikey?
Yeah.
Or there's a huge soundstage at Universal that can imitate the sea and they can put actual boats on it. I think it's that. I think that's where it was filmed. That's where they filmed Truman Show and a bunch of other stuff. But like,
I love the style of the movie. It's just so weird.
It is weird. You're right.
it is weird. There's a huge storm. The boat's in severe distress. The engines aren't working.
Oh, and this is where they kiss. They kiss during the typhoon.
They do, and Dagmar, Amanda Plummer, sends him to take care of her, and then basically she falls off the boat.
Yeah, Meg Ryan does.
Yeah, he dives in after her, and then lightning strikes the boat, killing everyone else on board. ostensibly.
Yes, and sinking the boat in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only survivor is the two of them and the Snake Plisskens.
Yeah.
Right. Because he puts her on a one of his trunks. They survive the night on a trunk.
Right.
He then finds the other trunks and drags them over to make like a raft.
Yeah.
And they're now alone on the ocean in the sun, but thankfully he has all his gadgets. And he's giving her like Perrier, like little caplets of Perrier from the bar kit in the violin case.
Well, he's trying to keep her alive. Yeah.
He's trying to keep her alive. He's got a radio. So he's like dancing. And at this point in my notes, I just have needs more Wilson.
I was getting some very Wilson-esque vibes. Yeah.
He shaves for some reason. He's playing the ukulele. He's got the umbrella for shade. But at this point, she's been unconscious for multiple days.
It's like 3 days. Yeah. And he is like about to die.
It's like 3 days. And it's just a montage. He's almost dying. He's looking at the constellations and yelling at a giant moon and thanking God for the amazing moon.
There was enough room under the umbrella for both of them. He didn't have to get sunburned.
Well, his legs would have gotten sunburned.
I mean, but he fully could have just got under the putting green that he had out there for a while he was playing putt-putt, which is insane. So like, Mikey, you're right. They had plenty of cover.
But yeah, so he's like amazed at the moon and thanking God for his life, thinking that he's probably going to die on this raft. He passes out and then he wakes up to Meg Ryan, Patricia, who's just like, why didn't you drink any water? And she's just totally fine, even though she's been unconscious and dehydrated and hasn't eaten for 3 days.
Yeah, she looks great.
Hey,
this is a cartoon.
It's crazy.
For kids.
But she asks what happened to the yacht, and he basically says lightning and everything went down.
Yeah.
And then they look up and they are approaching the island. So like they've magically like managed to float to the island they needed to go to. All of the indigenous peoples are coming out to meet them. And everything they have is made of soda cans.
Yeah.
Like there's soda can bras, there's soda can headdresses, soda can skirts,
Orange.
soda can weapons. Yes, orange soda.
Yes.
But they're like tall boys. Like they're not even tiny. They're not regular cans. It's tall boys.
Yeah.
It's like tall boy cans of orange soda.
It's insane. And also, where are they getting that from? Like, who is shipping them orange soda? They don't have a soda distribution plant on the island.
I have no idea. And it's part of the mineral deal where he's like, my people love the orange soda. So to get that, we have to do the minerals. It's never explained.
Well, if that is part of the deal, why does Joe have to kill himself for the mineral rights?
I have no idea. This movie makes no sense, Todd. But Abe Vigoda is the chief.
Yes. Oh, yes.
He's basically like, okay, we're going to have a feast and we're going to hang out and then you're going to jump. Okay. And he's like, okay.
And then Nathan Lane as like the underling.
That's actually later because I have it in my notes.
He met him on the water first.
Yeah, he's the first one they talked to.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't notice him until he was doing the ceremony later.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
so Nathan Lane is one of the Islanders.
Yes. I love how matter-of-fact Abe Vigoda is. He's
Yes.
just like, we're going to eat, and then you're going to go jump into the volcano. And that's going to be it.
Yeah. We cut to, they've taken them away to kind of get them ready for that night. So they're like bathing Tom Hanks in a waterfall. They're making Meg Ryan look all pretty, but then they're like slapping Tom Hanks with fish and smashing bananas on him.
They suck his toes.
Yeah, they suck on his toes and they put an octopus on his face. This is where the movie got hilarious. And I was like, how did they suddenly bring someone in for a rewrite at 10 minutes to the end of this movie? Because this is great.
I know. Honestly, had the last 45, 50 minutes been this, I'd have been on board for it.
Me too. If anything, it's almost like I want this to be more weird because it exists in a place where it's like trying to be too serious and then super weird at the same time. And I want Better Off Dead. I want that level of weird.
Yes, I want more weird too, Paige.
Also, I really feel like we needed more time for Patricia and Joe to fall in love.
Yes.
I feel like they barely know each other.
I know.
Well, they've listened to one monologue each. What else do you need, people?
Oh, Mikey, I have
Everything.
a dating app that I'm going to need you to download called Red Flags. It's going to tell you everything you need to know.
Well, I have a dating app idea called Monologues.
I feel like is that a dating app for people who spend too much time in the bathroom? Or for just lumberjacks?
Single lumberjacks?
Yeah,
That's a great joke.
single lumberjacks is
Monologues,
monologues.
guys.
Yeah.
That's.
I love it,
That's my
Paige.
st- I
That's
love that.
amazing.
So
Oh my
they go to basically Meg Ryan shows up to a ceremony and Nathan Lane is leading the dances and all kinds of craziness and
Yeah.
Tom Hanks shows up in a tux and she's like, "You're really gonna do it?" And he's like, "Well, I might as well go out in style."
Yeah.
They throw two people against giant gongs
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I laughed out loud when that
and
happened.
then they
I loved
carry
it
them
so
off
much.
unconscious. Which is great.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's so
was
good.
so good.
But then Abe Vigoda basically says like, hey, we're doing this because it's cultural, but none of my people will be the hero we need. So I'm going to ask them one more time so that you don't have to do this.
Oh, I thought that was just a formality of the ceremony.
No, I think Abe Vigoda was really disappointed in his people.
It kind of seems that way. It reminds me of the scenes in Midsommar where they do the same thing, except in Midsommar, people are like, I'll burn alive in the yellow house.
That sounds
Please,
awesome.
pick me.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Hooray! So as they're picking, the ground rumbles because the volcano is clearly about to erupt.
It has yet to be fed.
It has yet to be fed. And Tom Hanks says, "Take me to the volcano." And they march up the mountain. Meg Ryan tries to catch up with him. And they get to the top and he's like, "Is there any ceremony or anything?" And they're like, "No,
Nope.
you just jump in." We didn't bother to write that part. We wrote
Yeah.
a bunch of monologues for people on the ocean. Didn't write anything else for this.
Yeah.
This is my favorite part between Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks.
Oh,
though.
you mean where she's like, "Hey, do you have life insurance?" And he goes, "Yeah." And then she's like, "We should get married immediately."
Yeah.
She's like, "I love you, Joe," or whatever. And he's like, "I love you too. And it's great. I love it. I love how it makes me feel. Bad timing, though. I got to go." It
Yeah,
just
I
pisses
did
off
like
the
a
team.
bad timing line. I thought that was amazing.
Well, and so they get married and she decides she's going to jump in with them.
Yeah, they're going to jump in together.
Well, first they do a ceremony with Abe Vigoda where he's like, "Do you want to marry? And do you want to marry? All right, you're married."
Yeah.
By the way, Paige, I love that you used those vows at your wedding.
It was great. It worked out perfectly. Wouldn't change a thing. So they decide to jump in together, basically saying, "We'll jump and we'll see," which is like, she just met him. And for all she knows, this is suicide. So they should both maybe talk to somebody. I understand him doing it.
Yeah, she knows he's going to die from the brain cloud.
Yeah.
He's letting her die for him?
I know. I kind of have a real problem with that.
He does try to talk her out of it on there.
He does.
And then she's
yeah.
like, no, we're going to take this as a leap of faith. If you're ready to kill yourself into a volcano, do you really have time to talk this over with somebody?
I don't know. I like the whole thing where she was just like, oh, I met you 2 days ago, or I guess 5 days ago, but I was unconscious for a bunch of them. Let's do this.
But the metaphor of them like jumping into a relationship together,
I guess.
and for some people, Mikey, that does feel like suicide, you know, committing to someone long term, you know, like Mike Myers in the last movie we watched, or Mikey,
Yeah.
like all of those, like that is a thing. So they're just going to jump into it together and see what happens.
I would not let her jump in the volcano with me because I would have faked that marriage just to get her to leave me alone so I could jump in the volcano. But now if she's going with me, like what if you're married in the afterlife? Like that's real commitment.
Mikey, all I'm hearing is that even after you marry Meg Ryan, you're going to want to leave her somewhere and go away.
What I'm hearing is Mikey's fear of commitment extends beyond the physical plane.
It is beyond the grave, Paige. You are right. He is worried that he has been sealed for all time and eternity to...
Say it is like that. And you just married her right now to jump in a volcano. That's more than a to death do you part. That's all the times.
all the times.
I mean, I know some people believe that we get our own planet or whatever.
How dare you? How dare you attack my childhood religion?
See, if I jumped in the volcano with Meg Ryan, and let's see that she turns out to be different than what I thought before we jumped in the volcano, I would petition God for an annulment because it's only been 30 days.
I don't think God does annulments, man.
Divorce is only something they do in England.
It's not divorce. It's annulment. That's a difference.
This is an irrational fear, Michael. I hope you know that.
And I do feel like we got to the start of it when you called your girlfriend in high school to talk about how sad you were about your parents splitting up, and she broke up with you on that call.
She's like, funny thing that I have in common with your parents.
I'm also becoming single tonight.
Much like your parents, it is your fault.
Wow. Okay, Mikey, I know what you need to talk to your therapist about when next you meet.
Oh. No, I mean, I hope I meet someone I could enjoy the afterlife with. But I mean, like, I can't think about that right now.
This is the craziest thing to consider about having a relationship with someone.
And it's amazing that it's crazier than other things you have said up till this point.
But what if she's in the mob?
She's just unemployed, Mikey.
Oh.
I don't understand this fear of the... Here's the thing. I think we all have our own personal beliefs about the afterlife. You have that, whatever. You don't 100% know that's real. Like, you hope so. That's what faith's about. You hope it's real. But you could be totally wrong, and you're basing real life decisions right now for people that we know are real.
See, Paige, the thing is, he's not basing real life decisions on things we don't know are real. He's finding excuses to not have to commit to someone in this very real life.
This makes as much sense to me as it does to be like, I don't want to date that girl. She's not ready for the zombie apocalypse.
But that's a real thing, Paige.
Oh,
You do not know that that's going to be
Mikey.
real. Now,
Mikey.
if you want to say something like, I don't know that we're going to work out because I don't like the way she handles problems when things come up. And I feel
so it's
like
a wording issue.
No, I think it's more of a reality issue, Mikey. Because having an issue with someone's problem-solving abilities and the way that they interact with adversity in their life is different than saying, I don't think she could machete a zombie to death.
But we have to all agree that if someone likes the last season of Game of Thrones, we shouldn't date them.
yeah, that's a given, Mikey. But like, if you're worried about, I don't think she's a good harp player, so I don't want to be with her in heaven, that is an unrealistic thing to be worried about.
Okay, but what if she can't play the fiddle and we meet the devil down the road and we would lose the duel?
It is madness. This is madness.
This is the most insane conversation I've had with you, and that is shocking.
This is like, you guys know these are jokes, right?
I think
I hope
you'd
so.
like for them to be played off as jokes. Yes, Mikey.
I really hope so. I really do.
I would just like to reiterate, and you heard this in our theme song, Mikey is single, ladies.
So they jump in the volcano.
Right, yeah.
I thought we were we're done.
No, we have like 10 minutes left. They jump in the volcano. It blows them back out. They land in the sea. They climb onto the trunks, which are somehow out at sea again. And then the whole island dies?
Yeah, the whole island sinks into the sea.
It's a punishment because none of the native people jumped into the volcano.
Okay.
Now, who did you have your money on, Joe or the volcano at the beginning of this movie?
This wasn't a boxing match. I didn't put money on anybody.
I mean, it's Joe versus the volcano, not Joe and the volcano, okay?
Is the volcano a child?
I'm just saying, it looks like it was a draw.
No, the volcano lost. It literally went down. I think if you drown in the ocean, that's a TKO.
It's because the ocean was real wet, so it needed to go down it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So Tom Hanks learned not to fear death and to live his life to the fullest. Now he's stranded in the ocean.
Yeah, and I do love that Meg Ryan is like, wait, are you really dying or whatever? She's like, yeah, I've got this brain fog. And she's like, I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah, he should have got a second opinion. It really just shows that you got to be careful when it comes to your doctor picking.
True. And she reveals that the doctor is just her father's doctor who's like a quack.
Yeah.
Now he's like, I'm saved. But at the same time, I'm like, you have no apartment or money and you're on a raft. They're both going to die on that raft.
Oh, yeah, they're fully dead in 3 days.
No. Those trunks have 3 other bars in a violin case.
I love that what we don't know is that Tweedledum, the other one of those 2 boats, is in one of those cases.
I think my favorite is when he says, wherever we go, whatever we do, we're going to take this luggage with us.
Yeah.
It's such a good line.
And then we pull back and see a shot of the moon and a title card that says, and they lived happily ever after. And that's the movie. Question mark? Is it a movie? Was that a movie?
It's a cartoon movie for children in live action, yes.
Yes.
So having seen the movie, having talked about it, what do you guys think?
It's fantastic. Everyone should see it. Roger Ebert gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars.
He must have been on crack that day because this movie is so strange. I don't hate it. I'm confused by it. I don't know how to feel about it.
That means you got to watch it again.
No, it doesn't.
I don't think I ever want to really sit through this again because it's just a bunch of monologues with really cool scenery.
Yeah.
Well, the original title was The Volcano Monologues.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Someone needs to do an off-Broadway stage show where it's just the monologues from this movie and you call it the Volcano Monologues. I'm here for that.
Todd, what'd you think?
I think that was the best joke of the podcast. I also think that the movie is very strange. I love the cinematography. I love some of the acting. I love Meg Ryan as a redhead. I'm a fan, but I don't think you should watch this movie more than once.
Yeah.
I think it is a good movie. You should watch it. Honestly, skip the first 20 minutes if you don't want to watch the really boring, horrible beginning, but I think it's solid for like minute 25 to the end. It's a solid movie.
I will definitely say that you should watch this. It's got Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan.
Young Tom Hanks and young Meg Ryan. Yeah.
There is no other movie like this.
No.
No, there's not, and I think that's for a reason.
Yeah. I agree. But I do think people should see it. Like, I'm not mad that I've seen it now. It's a movie that I had not seen up to this point, and I'm glad I've seen it because now I know that it's, one you can miss.
This is like the romantic comedy of House 2.
I'm not even sure if this is a romantic comedy. That's my question about this.
I felt like it was more just his journey, but then at the end it tries to make it a romantic comedy, but there's no chemistry between them, and so it's very...
Or much comedy between them.
It's weird.
If you go into it to laugh at the movie.
Yes.
And maybe not with the jokes, but some of the jokes do make you laugh. It's just so bizarre. It's so hard to explain to someone.
It's weird, and I feel like if we take another movie with this level of weird and this level of magical realism, look at something like Better Off Dead. It's pretty dark. It also has a bunch of weirdness and wackiness. It exists in a very world that exists outside our own, for the most part.
Yeah.
But it's got so much more of a story and so much more characterization that you actually care about their relationship. And I would just say it's an overall better movie. I feel like this movie is a half step towards being either so insane that it's hilarious and a blast to watch, or being so serious in an art film, and it can't decide what it wants to be.
I think it really wanted to be an art film, and it's not executed well, and there's also a little bit of comedy in it, so it's this weird middle ground like you were saying.
But here's the thing. Without this movie, You've Got Mail and Sleepless in Seattle don't happen.
I know, which is so crazy because who saw this and was like, we've got to get those two together again?
Honestly, probably everyone, because they were like, holy crap, Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan are amazing. We should give them an actual chance to do a good rom-com.
Yeah.
But Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do have some fun facts.
Hit us with those fun facts.
As we mentioned, well, we can't do really any math for this movie because nothing in it exists, but...
Well, you have to have, like, laws of a universe to have mathematics.
There's
and there's
no
just none
laws
of those
in
here.
this universe. We did mention earlier that the lamp that he brings into his office displays all the future events of the movie, kind of like the tapestry in Midsommar. So it's got the yacht, the volcano, the road, it's got the full moon, and it actually plays the film's theme when turned on. So it was custom made for the movie.
Yeah.
The company logo, that kind of lightning bolt thing, is seen in the entrance to the factory on the sidewalk.
Right.
It's also the crumbling wall in Joe's house is in that shape.
Oh.
It's the same shape as the lightning bolt that sinks the boat. It's the same as the road that goes up the volcano. And in the film's trailer, it's actually the lightning bolt that travels up the film's title and strikes at the top of the volcano. So when you think about it that way, it's literally a visual representation of like, this is his past and this is his previous life trying to attack him at every turn, and he's overcoming it, if that makes sense.
Cool.
But it's so, it doesn't dig into that in the movie at all. It's just kind of weird. It's just there.
Yeah. I mean, I would have to have someone tell me that to get that.
Yeah.
The movie does not make that clear.
Yeah, I noticed it in a couple places. I noticed it in his wall. I noticed it at the factory, but I didn't notice it anywhere else. And so I just thought it was a weird stylistic choice. When Joe and redhead Meg Ryan, Angelica, are at like makeout point in her convertible, the license plate on her car reads Bad Girl, BAADGIRL.
Nice.
But when she's dropping him back at the hotel in the next scene, the front plate reads Good Girl, GOODGIRL.
Why?
I don't know.
That's so strange.
The coordinates that blonde Meg Ryan, Patricia, gives for their position during the typhoon are negative 10.1333 and negative 150.3, which places them about 10 miles southwest of Caroline Island in the South Pacific.
Okay.
The film contains multiple references to losing one's soul. So in the song 16 Tons, which plays in the beginning as he's going to work, there's the lyric, I sold my soul to the company store.
Yeah.
Later, he responds to Dee Dee's question in the factory while inspecting his damaged shoe, which is losing its soul.
Yeah.
Later, Patricia references being soul sick on the yacht. And then he has a couple exchanges with the Waponi's chief, Toby, because he carries like a little teddy bear that represents his soul. And he basically says that the chief hopes the chief will not lose his Toby or soul. So that seems to be, again, an overarching theme of the movie is losing your soul to your previous life that does not free you to experiences that would make your life valuable.
I like the term soul sick.
I think it's just in this movie.
Yeah.
The books that he packs as he's leaving his office are Romeo and Juliet, Robinson Crusoe, and the Odyssey, which basically typify the rest of the movie.
Yeah, that's the movie. Yeah.
The mask worn by the Waponi, who is representing the evil spirit, aka Nathan Lane, resembles the factory where Joe used to work. It has that same stripe, and it looks like the factory itself. The cab that was seen taking his steamer trunks to the sailboat belongs to a man named Neil Abercrombie, who at the time of the filming of this movie was a congressman from Hawaii. He drives a refurbished plantation-era taxi. Now, this is Hawaiian plantation era, so like 20s and 30s.
Right.
And the graphic on the side of the cab actually has his name on it, and it's a nod to the residents of Hawaii where a ton of this movie was filmed. So the island is Hawaii. Joseph Banks was the name of Captain Cook's chief botanist on his expeditions to the South Pacific in the 18th century.
Ooh, Captain Cook was not a good dude.
He was not. And the scene where Joe goes shopping, again, supposedly in New York City, is actually filmed on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. And you can tell from the stores and specifically the Gucci sign in the background. So there you go. Those are your fun facts.
Well, awesome.
Oh, thank you for those fun facts.
Yeah, those were great.
Mhm.
So you guys want to talk some box office?
I do, yeah.
I have such curiosity about this.
Oh, do you? Okay, cool. So it was filmed probably 89. It came out in 1990. So what do you think the budget for this movie was back then?
This is a big budget movie, is what is crazy about this.
Well, I mean, that's what we're here. That's what I'm asking you. What do you think it was?
No, but I mean, like, I'm trying to put the scenes are big and it's all like real actual work. Like it's like a big, and then you can see the money.
Yeah, especially because so much of it is sound stages.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like the shot where he's standing up and like praising the moon as the moon's coming up.
Yeah.
Like that was a very, very cool shot, especially for 1990. But I bet that cost them so much money. So what do you guys think it was?
I'm going to say it's at least $2 million.
I'm going to say $8 million.
Okay. The budget for this movie was $25 million.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
In the late 80s?
Well,
Oof.
yeah, it was probably financed in 89, right?
How did this happen?
So if you adjust that for inflation, that is almost $50 million of a budget, which is insane. But I mean, there are movies that are made for well more than that nowadays, and that's adjusted for today's money, right?
Marvel movies.
Yeah.
This has got to be one of the most expensive romantic comedies of all time.
It's probably up there, yeah. So what do you guys think it made its first week out, which it came out March 9th of 1990?
$8 million.
It didn't make that. I'm thinking that first week, maybe $1 million.
Okay, Mikey, you were pretty close. It made $9.2 million. It got beat by The Hunt for Red October, which was the #1 movie that week.
Oh, that's a good movie.
It is. And that movie actually brought in $14 million that week, and it was its second week out. The #2 movie was Joe versus the Volcano and made 9.2. #3 was House Party, and #4 was Bad Influence, and #5 was Driving Miss Daisy. So that was the top 5 that week that Joe versus the Volcano came out. It came in second, which is not bad. But what do you guys think it made in its total theatrical run in the box office?
$21 million.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at too, like 20 mil.
Okay, so right in the 20 millions, it actually made $39 million.
So it just barely made budget.
I mean, they made a little bit of money on the movie. If you adjust for inflation, that's like $85 million. So it made money, but it didn't do amazing. It wasn't a sleeper hit like Sleepless in Seattle or You've Got Mail.
Yeah.
But that's box office. So do you think they're still together?
I think they died on that raft. So yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they literally were together the rest of their lives. Those two crazy kids figured it out for those 2 days until they died of dehydration on the Snake Plissken raft that they had built.
Yes.
I think they had a lot of kids. I think they made it back on the invincible luggage full of things they needed at all times, and they made it.
The only way I could see them making it back is if news of the volcanic eruption reached the mainland and people came out to try and rescue people for the volcano and they got picked up along the way.
So would you date Tom Hanks in this movie, Paige?
No, absolutely not.
I mean, I get it. I wouldn't want to be with a hypochondriac like this either.
Here's the thing.
He's not by the end.
Hypochondriac's one thing. Listening to those monologues every day, that is a fucking nother. No, thank you.
So,
No.
Mikey, Meg Ryan.
Which version?
I think we should go with the one that he actually ends up with. I feel like that's the way.
Yeah.
Patricia?
Yeah, Patricia.
Yeah, I'd go for it, I think.
Okay.
That's fair. I kind of like her. She's fine, I
mean,
guess.
she can sail.
Not well.
And honestly, it was Dagmar that was doing the sailing.
Yeah, it was Amanda Plummer saving the day and stealing the scenes again.
Love Amanda Plummer. So good.
Now, if I did date her and she wanted to get married after 5 days, it probably wouldn't work out.
Mikey, knowing you, I know it wouldn't, but I don't think that's necessarily bad. I think if someone wants to get married after 5 days, there's a problem there that needs to be addressed. I would say Patricia, no. Angelica, yeah.
What about Nathan Lane?
Yes. Have you seen The Birdcage, Mikey?
Forever, always.
Absolutely.
I love Nathan Lane.
Nathan Lane can do no wrong.
Even if I just had to be a beard for Nathan Lane, I'm here for it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
So this week we watched Joe versus the Volcano. Mikey, what are you making us watch next week?
I'm going to give you guys a choice.
This is new.
We're going to watch a Netflix romantic comedy.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to? Do you want to watch a brand new one about the holidays called Holidate?
Holy shit. How can that be the title? That is like, hey, I'm just throwing out ideas. First idea, worst idea. Let's just get it out and get it moving. Holiday. No, that's horrible. What's the next idea? No one got to what's the next idea. They just went with the holiday.
It sounds so bad. It's good. And right now, my pick is Holiday, unless you can beat
I
it.
know. I mean, I would watch it.
I just sent you the picture of it. Netflix emailed me about it today.
This is not
And
how we're picking movies going forward. Holy shit. Wow.
And it's rated mature.
What is it, a porn? I mean, listen, Mikey, I am not saying no to this, but what is the second option?
Yeah, what's the second option?
The second option is You'll Always Be My Maybe.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Yes. So I'm going to let you guys pick.
Yeah, I'm saying Holiday as well.
Yeah.
It's a hot new Netflix new release.
And listen, I am fully on board to do Holiday, even though it's not really Christmas time and there's a Christmas tree in the picture you sent us. But I don't see any reason why we can't dig into the season a little early.
I mean, it's always Christmas in my heart.
Agreed. And I am a hardcore Christmas person, and this will fall
Same.
after Halloween, so it's fine. I know that we will eventually get to Always Be My Maybe because it's
Right.
reportedly
That
very
was my
good.
first choice.
Yeah.
But then I got this email and I was like,
Sometimes when the universe tells you what to do, Mikey, you need to listen.
It's a sign.
it's a sign. It's like the volcano.
I'm going to get Netflix to start emailing you about who you should date.
This should tell you about my viewing habits. If this is like, Michael, we have a new movie on Netflix. You have to see it. It's Holiday.
It's also super weird that they're sending you email recommendations of movies.
Oh, Netflix is really weird on their emails. They also send me emails as reminders to finish things. Like,
Yeah.
hey, Michael, you haven't finished Umbrella Academy. Are you going to do that? And I'm like, whoa.
No, it's terrible.
That's commitment.
See, I get the same thing, but all of mine are like, hey, you didn't finish these 3 murder documentaries. Are you okay?
So, the Netflix hot new release, Holiday.
So, guys, your homework this week is to get wine drunk, put on your ugliest Christmas sweater in November, and watch Holiday on Netflix.
Look how excited Paige is.
I was so happy.
I think it's going to be great. I think we should all take pictures of ourselves in ugly Christmas sweaters watching Holiday and just post it to Instagram.
I mean, this is why we started this podcast. I want to watch weird shit like this all the time.
I'm on board.
I'm going to get a white chocolate peppermint mocha.
Yes, that's what I was going to get. That's what I was going to get.
Oh my God, Mikey got way too excited and I'm very concerned.
And I'm just going to cuddle up in one of my Christmas quilts and watch it.
Let's do it.
We're going to
I
have a
love
good time this week.
It's going to be so
Because
good.
once November hits, we're doing all holiday movies forever.
I am here for it. If that's what we're doing, if we are going whole hog into that, I know what my next movie is, and it's going to be fire.
Okay, no
Let's do
joke. I
this.
already have one picked out for that specifically. Because I love Christmas rom-coms. Or in fact, the one I
too.
pick is not really a comedy. There are some funny elements, but I love Christmas romantic movies.
Oh, me too, you guys. This is going to work out. We'll do it all winter until the sun comes back out.
I feel like what we just heard is what Mikey is going to send his Tinder profile match tonight. We're going to do it all winter till the sun comes back out.
On Dasher, on Dancer, on Skanky, on...
Oh, she's going to be like, well, I don't have renter's insurance. I'm so glad you guys are down for Holiday, man. I got that email today and I was chuckling.
So, Mikey, do you have a review for us to read?
Yes.
That sounds like a definite maybe. So while you're looking one up here real quick, let me explain to them how they can have their review read on the podcast, and that is to leave us a 5-star text review so Mikey has something to read. It's really easy. Just go to your podcast app on your iPhone and leave a review. It really does help people find the show. Mikey, do you have one?
Yeah, I got one.
Noise.
The Dark Star 68 has a review entitled Laughing the Whole Time.
Aw,
I love this podcast, exclamation point.
why thank you.
The hosts have me laughing the whole time and make my day. I have watched most of these movies before and enjoyed the Ever After episodes so much I had to pull out my DVD and watch it again. I laughed, I cried, I enjoyed this more than I remembered. Thank you for reminding me.
Aw.
5 stars.
Thank you so much for your awesome review. We really appreciate it. So, yeah, guys, if you like this power throuple that we have here on this podcast, make sure to check out our other podcast, The Horror Virgin. And that is the only other podcast that Mikey and I are on. But Paige gets around, and she is on 2 other podcasts, Black Card Rehab and Cult Podcast. So, guys, definitely check out those because they're amazing. If you want to follow us on social, we are at Romancing the Pod Show.
Yes.
On Instagram, and we are at something else on Twitter who I just have never taken the time to learn
It's just Romancing Pod Show because they have a character limit and it's show SHO like Showtime.
So guys, check that out as well. And if you want to follow us all individually, Paige is at Rampage Wesley everywhere, including TikTok, except for Twitter, where she is at Paige Wesley. Mikey is at MRandolph24, and I am at Todd J. Awesome everywhere.
So that's going to be it for us this week. I'm Paige.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us
To completion.
Hello.
Laters, baby.
babies!
La, la,